So you're getting rolled out of side control by bigger, stronger, more aggressive opponents. There are 3 strategies that I use to deal with it. I want to show you some of those. Ordinarily, when we get into side control, we want to put pressure down on our opponent, which is great. But the 2 things that he can use to roll me are if my weight is loaded on him for pressure, and second, if I can't release my hand to base out. If he can do those things, he can roll me. So for example, if I'm in a traditional side control position, head and arm control, where I underhook his arm and underhook his head, and I'm squeezing awful tight, then my buddy can just grab a hold of me. My weight's already on him, he puts his ear to his shoulder, and he bridges over that way. Whoa, crap. Super easy. And Benicio's not even that big, but he can still do that super easy because I've loaded my weight on him and because I can't easily take my hand out to base. So how do we deal with this? I use 3 different strategies. The first is going to be knee on belly. I'm going to have Benicio's feet here and head here. So the first thing, ordinarily we want to put pressure on in side control, but knee on belly can allow us some movement to transition because a lot of these are going to be transition related to deal with bigger, stronger opponents. So instead of being down on him and loading my weight onto him, I'm going to post my hands on his bicep or his body and go up to the knee on belly. Now notice I'm not doing the pressure style knee on belly where I attach myself to him with grips and put my knee in the middle of his solar plexus, which can be very painful for him, but can also allow me to load my weight on him. Instead, I'm floating on him. And so there's still pressure, but not enough that I'm going to be attached to him and my hands are going to be free to post. So if he bridges straight up into me, I can just rise my hips the same way I would like a boat rising on the ocean. If he bridges into me, that's when I can take the opportunity to transition to mount or technical mount, or if he bridges into me and gives me his arm, we can go to the far side arm bar, the crunch arm bar, all sorts of stuff. Either way, we're on top, sort of dealing with his explosions while he's using energy and we're just getting ready to transition. Obviously, if he bridges away from me, then I can just come in on my back attacks and things like that. So, first strategy, knee on belly. Second strategy, Kesa gatame. The Kesa gatame, or scarf hold, is a lot more nuanced than folks think it is. The standard Kesa gatame, the Kazuri Kesa gatame that most jiu-jitsu guys use, is an underhook, and my weight is on him as I'm trying to crush the life out of him. The problem with that is he's able to attach himself to me. I've already loaded my weight on him, so if he gets his hips under me and bridges me that way, whoa, I can go over pretty easily, right? So instead, we're gonna make a couple of mild adjustments to Kesa gatame. Actually, I'm going to rotate this way. So I can either be high on his body or low on his body, and my weight can be on him or my weight can be off him. So if I'm rolling with a big, strong guy, I'm going to bring my weight low, put my hip bone on his hip bone, and as he bridges, I'm going to sag my weight off him. So, still have the underhook, still have my weight on him. You see how my hip connects to his hip? Now, as he tries to bridge me that way, I just sag my weight off. Bridge me as hard as you can. Really hard. Now I can rewind his hips, turning his hips away from me, which makes the shrimp escape difficult. Remember, there's a couple of different valences of control we can use there. So if my weight's on him, real easy for me to beast me over. If my weight sags off, often I'll just wait and time the bridge, sag my weight off, and keep my hips up to my rib connected to his hip bone. Okay, last one. This is my favorite. Feet here, head here. We're gonna go over what we call 100 kilos. So the first 2, I'm sort of timing it, getting ready to transition. With 100 kilos, this is the side control strategy that I find is most controlling. And the attacks I choose it's totally related to where his arm is. So what we call 100 kilos, right? The original side control, head and arm control, it's sort of the inverse. Where my near side hand goes to the far side, my far side hand goes to the near side. So this hand rests by his hip. This armpit goes right on his bicep. If his arm's in here, we'll talk about what that means in a second. Now, what I'm doing with my weight, and I'll change the angle in a second so you can see it. My weight is always sternum to sternum, but I walk my body at a 45-degree angle, squishing his near side frame. And now if he tries to bridge up, it's very difficult. And I can move super easily to keep the control on. So from another angle, it looks like this. Head here, feet here. So ordinarily, I would have this hand on the far side and this hand under his head on the near side. So what I'm going to do instead is switch. So my armpit goes on his tricep, my hand goes right by his hip. If he tries to shrimp and get his leg back, it's impossible because I'm blocking the hip. If he tries to beast up into me, it's very hard because my weight's right down on him. And you see how by walking, like at a 45, he's unable to get his hips under me. Weight back down, please. Attacks I go for from here. If his arm is in like this, I just hunt the Kimura all day. Let's rotate so you can see that. Often I'll switch my hips here and just hunt this Kimura. If he's a really big guy with the kind of like a Ram Man from He-Man body, and he's able to bridge up into me, I can transition to north-south and hunt the Kimura. Or if he tries to get this arm far away from me, like extend your arm straight, I can just start sinking down, and that's when I'll attack north-south for the north-south choke. I'm leery of bringing my weight that far off him unless I have the attack, just because I don't want a big, strong guy to be able to turn his hips down. So, those are far from the only ways to deal with that problem, but remember the principles. In order to roll us, our weight has to be on him, and he has to stop us from posting. So the traditional head and arm side control is dangerous in that scenario. So instead, look for side controls where you can transition, time the bridge, and get to where you need to be before he gets there, and make sure you have posts so that you can transition to attacks.